Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're going to be talking about the NHL Media Day. So for those who don't know what this is, it's pretty much, every team's couple players go to this event and, take pictures, do interviews, all that basic stuff, do the commercials that you see throughout the year on NHL Network and NBC, Sportsnet, all that. Now, this isn't the official team media day because every team has a media day. It's usually taking place on the same day, and it's pretty much like the first day of school. You show up, take some pictures, do some funny interviews, and maybe Phil Kessel will be complaining about his hair.
That one's not good, nah.
What do you want to do?
Let's take one more, eh? Okay. Let's take a couple more. My hair is so bad, man. Yeah, I know. Where is it?
I got that.
It looks stupid, doesn't it? Can I see how my do looks on the TV at least? This is on the thing all year, right? Yeah, this is embarrassing if it looks terrible, right? I look like I'm balding though, I'll tell you that much. Just make sure I look good in these photos. Give me a little hair or something.
You want something else? You want to smile?
No, they're fine. I got just terrible hair.
But that's not what this is. That should be coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm not sure the exact day. But this is just where a few players from each team show up, do kind of the same thing, but it's just for the whole NHL. A lot of interesting things happened today. We had Evgeny Malkin and Marc-Andre Fleury doing their shenanigans. We had Sidney Crosby looking all sophisticated and cool. That's what he does. We had him taking a bunch of pictures with Sportsnet and NBC. And we also have whatever this is from Evgeny Malkin.
Go home, Dad! Go home, Dad!
Not too sure what that is, but you know what? It's Evgeny Malkin. We love him regardless. Let him do him. As long as he delivers for the season, which he will, let him do that all he wants. Now, enough with the jokes. Let's get into what I really want to talk about today, and that's the interesting quotes from Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. Mainly Sidney Crosby. Malkin had that one good quote that I will share with you guys soon, but Crosby was the guy who did most of the talking today, and he did catch my attention. Sidney Crosby pretty much touched up on everything, but the one thing that really bothered him is the Capitals winning the Cup. Now, obviously, it bothered us. It obviously bothers Crosby, but it's not just the Capitals winning the Cup. It seems like he's bothered that he's not the champion anymore. And reading the quotes he was saying, I'm going to share them with you in a couple seconds here, but it really motivates me for this season, seeing our own captain like this. Now, the following quotes that I will be reading to you guys are from Jason Mackey, so shout out to him. Great writer for the Penguins. I suggest you guys go check him out. All right, the first quote that I'm going to read is the one that caught my eye the most, and it's when Crosby said, "I think probably more mentally than anything, it's coming in fresh, knowing that you lost the year before and wanting to prove something." Now, hearing Crosby say this is really interesting because he's not just here to start the season like every other season. He's here to prove something. He's here that he wants to win again. He wants to be a champion. Because a couple of other Penguins were there and they all said the same thing, it's good, you get the extra month off, you get to rest more, blah, blah, blah. Crosby said that too, but then he followed up by saying this, which interested me because no other Penguin really said anything about this. And then Crosby said this: "For us, it's easier to find motivation after having lost the year before." And then we have this tweet from Josh Yohe, which is really interesting and is actually my favorite part of the whole day. He says, "A handful of Penguins met with the media today. Most were in a good mood and talked openly about the positives of having a long summer. Sidney Crosby, however, came across as still being aggravated that the Penguins didn't win the Cup again and spoke of having things to prove." Now, before I give my opinion on these quotes, I want to hear what you guys have to say. What did you guys take away from what Crosby said in these quotes? I don't know about you guys, but I'm really excited for the season to start, because anybody could have said this. Anybody could have said it, but Sidney Crosby said it. And when Sidney Crosby says something, he does it. Now, my concern coming into the season was, is this team still hungry to win another Cup? They've won 2 in a row. They saw what it is. It's a full beating to win this Cup, and they've won it twice. So I wanted to know, do they still have the gas and the motivation to win another Cup coming this season? And reading these quotes from Sidney Crosby, I think the answer is yes. Because like I said before, anybody could have said this, even Evgeny Malkin, and I don't think it would have had the same impact as if right now Sidney Crosby saying it. Because no disrespect to Evgeny Malkin, but Sidney Crosby is Sidney Crosby. So when he says something like this, it's not only your captain speaking, but it's the best player in the world speaking. And regardless what you think of McDavid or whatever, you can't deny what Sidney Crosby has done in his career. So when he says something like this, it definitely will motivate the whole team. Now, before I move on from this topic, I want to read you guys what Evgeny Malkin had to say about this. All right, coming from Dan Rosen, he says, "Are the Penguins bitter about the Capitals winning the Stanley Cup? Well, here's Evgeny Malkin talking about it. We need it back. It's like who wins? Washington wins, the most hated team in Pittsburgh. Of course we want it back." Now, come on, don't lie. Don't tell me you didn't read that in Evgeny Malkin's voice. Anyways, jokes aside, this is a really interesting quote from Evgeny Malkin, especially when he says, "We need it back." That was the first thing he started with, "We need it back." He didn't say, "We want it back." "We need it back." And by "we," he means the Penguins, and by "it," he means the Stanley Cup. And then he referred to the Capitals as the most hated team in Pittsburgh. I mean, that's kind of interesting because for a long time that was the Flyers, the Rangers, now it's the Capitals. And I agree, I think that is the most hated team in Pittsburgh. You just see with the rivalries, everything that happens between these two teams. we hate them and they hate us. Now, the whole question here is, are the Penguins bitter that the Capitals won the cup? Now, before you give your answer, let me read what the definition of bitter is. Having a sharp, pungent taste or smell, not sweet. So, going off of the definition, I'm going to say yes, the Penguins and the fans are bitter that the Capitals are champions. It's not fun seeing your rivals win the cup. It's not fun, period, seeing your team not win the cup, let alone it be your rivals, your number one rivals. So I do think the Penguins have something to prove, every single one of them, especially the Stars, which is why I'm very excited from these quotes that we heard from Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby today. Now, before I end the video, I want to touch up on something that Jason Mackey said about Crosby in his article. Last summer was one of the toughest of Crosby's career, having to watch so many friends and teammates leave, and he admitted as much during training camp. Now, keep in mind, Sidney Crosby has had a long career. Some bad summers, some good summers, and he says this was one of the toughest of his career. Now, like I said, he's had injuries, concussions, early exits in the playoffs, and this was one of the worst. And keep in mind, he won the cup that summer. So he won the cup, and he still described it as one of the worst summers of his career. Now, I don't think Sidney Crosby actually means it was one of the worst of his career, because I think he was talking off of emotion. He lost, like it said in the article, a lot of friends and teammates. Now, I think the summer was fine for Crosby. He was a champion. But I think that part of the summer, July 1st, when he lost Nick Bonino, Trevor Daley, Matt Cullen, Chris Kunitz, don't forget Marc-Andre Fleury a week earlier. Who am I missing? Ron Hainsey. All these guys. We lost the whole starting lineup pretty much. Now, this really affected Sidney Crosby, obviously, losing one of your best friends in Marc-Andre Fleury, who you spent your whole career with, and losing another one of your best friends in Chris Kunitz, who you've spent almost a decade playing with on the same line. It really hurts, and not only to Crosby, but the whole team. But I think Crosby, it hit him personally because, like I said, he sat on the plane with Marc-Andre Fleury, so he had a special connection with Fleury, and Chris Kunitz was on his line for as long as I can remember. Now you guys probably are asking, why am I bringing this up? It's kind of irrelevant. It happened 2 summers ago. We're on to our second season. We already been through this. Why are you bringing it up? Well, I want to bring it up just going to show you that we think, oh, it's all part of the game. It's a business, losing all these guys, it's part of the game. But it really does affect the players. And I think that's a big reason on why the Penguins couldn't go all the way this year is because they lost all these guys. Number one, because, you lose depth. And number two, these guys are friends. They don't just play hockey. They spend time together outside of hockey. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because this year we didn't lose anyone. We lost Rowney, Kunakl, and Hunwick, Sheary. I mean, besides Sheary, all those other guys were kind of irrelevant, I don't want to say irrelevant because that's kind of a bad word to use in hockey. No one's irrelevant. But you guys know what I mean, fourth liners. It doesn't hurt losing a guy like Rowney. He was helpful. I thank him for his time here. Same with Kunakl, even same with Hunwick. I know you guys didn't like Hunwick. I didn't like him either. But, they all did their thing, even Sheary. But, losing them doesn't really hurt us. I mean, I think Sprong can replace Sheary, and the other guys, anyone can replace them. We lost a little bit of depth, but that doesn't hide away from the fact that we have our core still here together. This time we don't have to. Remember last year we were looking for a third and fourth line center. That's not you can't start a season with Greg McKegg and was it Carter Rowney? I mean, that's a weak bottom 6. I don't know what we were thinking. But now from having that, we're starting the season with Derek Brassard and Riley Shan. And if we go with Brassard on the wing, then we have Riley Shan and Matt Cullen, which is still a way better 3 and 4 than Greg McKegg and Carter Rowney. Unlike last year, going into this year, the Penguins don't really have any holes in their lineup. I mean, defense is still a little bit of a question, but when is defense not a question for the Penguins? So I think, just you look at offensively, we're stacked down the middle. We're stacked on the wing. Sprong might be a good surprise. I hope he plays. I think he'll surprise a lot of us. And now that I do bring up Sprong, I am going to make a video about him. That might be the next video in a couple of days. I'm going to make a video talking about his future with the team. What do I expect from him? Why he should be in the NHL? All that's going to come in the next video because I have a lot to say about this. Overall, I'm really confident about the team this year. I'm more confident than I was in 2016 and 2017. This team on paper is better than both those teams. Now, that's on paper. Don't forget, right? On paper and on the ice is 2 different things. But if this team performs like they should, this should be a good year. We've seen the Penguins hungry before. We've seen the Penguins motivated. We've seen the Penguins win cups. But we've never seen the Penguins lose to their rivals and then have them win the cup. And that rival being the team you've beaten every single year to win a cup. And that being the Washington Capitals. The Capitals are the reason why the Penguins didn't win. Put that in your heads for a second. You're a Penguins player, right? You've beaten this team every year to win a cup. And now they beat you and won a cup. That doesn't sit well. I mean, it doesn't sit well with me as a fan. I can only imagine how it is for a player. Like I said, I think this is the year we see a different beast in the Penguins. You know, every team plays to win the cup. That's the goal. But I think the Penguins are going to be playing for something else this year. Obviously, the cup is number one, and number two is revenge on the Washington Capitals. I really think that's their goal here, is to, number one, beat the Capitals and then win the cup. Because obviously, to win the cup, you got to go through the Washington Capitals. With that being said, I'm going to wrap up the video here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Give me your thoughts on the video. What were your thoughts on Crosby's comments, Malkin's comments? You know, going into the season, what are your thoughts? Leave that all in the comments and let's have a discussion. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Like I said, the next video will be about Sprong, and that should be out in the next couple of days. So I'll see you then.